Hello everybody, welcome back to another video in my Blender training series. In this video I'm going to be covering a topic that PH8JPF9M asked for on the Minetest forum thread that I have created for this series. Basically he just wants to know how to do some overlays on mobs. Now there are two ways to do this. One way is super easy and that's what I'm going to show first because that'll work most of the time, and if it doesn't, we'll get to the more complicated one in the latter part of this video. So to start with, I have, let me zoom out here a little bit. This is the texture layout for actually the default character, but also I used that model for a zombie mod I created, which I think's floating around on the forum someplace. I'll try to link it in the notes on my website. But basically what we have here is we have, well, this is a zombie skin, but we have a base layer which is skin, so this would be a nude zombie. That's super interesting, just kind of a fleshy tone, which is really not accurate for zombies at all, but whatever. Then we have a shirt, and we have the pants, and we have the hair, and we have the face. So you kind of work with those all together and you make the zombie skin here. And then to do a simple overlay, watch the face and the shirt. The face kind of, the eyeballs change color. We get a little bit of pink in the whites of the eyes there. And we get this weird like T-shaped thing and like table on the shirt. I don't know, I was just throwing something together real quick. So what we do is we export this as 2 images, which I've already done. Let me find those here. So we have, actually I have several zombie skins that I ship with the mod. And it's going to be all blurry when I zoom in, but that's one of the zombie skins. Here's another. Here's another. And here's yet another. They're phenomenal skins. And then we have an overlay, which is our 2 eyeballs, the little face, or the mouth, and that T and that table shape thing. The purple background here is just alpha. I just have my alpha color showing as that purple. I could do this check right now. I was using that purple for some reason. I forget what it was. But so we have an overlay image, and then we have our 4 skins, and I have a zombie base, which I don't actually use in the code now. Looking at the code here, you'll see we have zombies, or zombie. That should really be zombies, that's the name of the mod, but whatever. 01, 02, 03, 04. And then we have 04 repeated with a caret. And then we have zombie overlay.png. Using this caret in textures, and I have a video on textures, which if I remember, I will link, we can overlay one texture over another. So basically, we're doing exactly what is done here in GIMP. We are just overlaying this texture on top of this within Minetest. So when we run the game, we will have the texture from 4 with that extra overlay on it. So let's pull Minetest up, and I've created a little cage kind of thing here, so we can kind of easily see. And let's go ahead and turn off chat. Alright, so I have one zombie there. He is not going to have the skin. That one doesn't. That one doesn't. I should have turned off some of these other ones. Especially because I'm not getting the right skin type to spawn. Come on. I need the other skin. Whichever one 4 was, I need. Are you kidding me? It's a lot of zombies. Oh no, one got free. And these guys move way faster than zombies should. But that's besides the point. Oh wait, here we have one. They both are, and they're not within the protective cages. Of course. Ah! Nope, I'm not going to build fast enough. But if you can kind of see here, let me turn off F1 and pause so they can't damage me. You'll see they have that T-shaped thing and that little table, and the eyes are kind of discolored there. And let's run back over here. Oh, actually some of those are too, and I just couldn't tell. Like, oh, of course he would jump right when I was pausing. Here we go. So here we have it without the overlay on it. So normal eyes, normal mouth, and the normal shirt. So that's the easy method. of just using a texture overlay. Let's jump into Blender and we will look at the second method of doing this. Alright, so here we are in Blender, and I opened my model, which I admittedly create, but the model of the zombie here, and it almost has some tweaks that make it different than the default character. Mainly it's kind of slouched over there. It's got its little walk animations and an attack animation and all that good stuff. Now, I went ahead and added in this plane. This is the only method I know. They wanted to know, let me see what it said here. How to make blah 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 blah. How to give them a bow or a sword or etc. Now, unfortunately, this method is kind of hacky and is not going to work perfectly. But this is the only way I know of. So what we're going to do is we have this plane here, and this is going to end up being the weapon. So let me go ahead and... yeah, let's call it a weapon. A weapon. That's more like it. Alright, and then we're going to tab into edit mode, and I'm going to scale this larger. I'm thinking that size is where I want to put that. Alright, and let's put this back to textured. Alright, so now it's holding this giant square. Like I said, it's hacky. You know what? Actually, let me tweak this. This can be made better. What I'm gonna do is we'll take the top and we'll put that down, say 2, and we'll put this one up 2 spaces. There we go. So now, if the character was to be holding a sword, the sword would stick off to the front. If they're gonna hold a bow, it'd be the full size. You'll have to tweak it for whatever you want your mob to be holding. This isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. It doesn't really work that way. Alright, now I need a position where the arm has a degree of rotation to it. I don't know how much, but it has some. So what we're going to do is try to match just by eye. It looks like 5 degrees is probably right. And now we need to make the weapon a child of this bone. So let's go ahead and select the armature here. I'm going to put that into object mode and then select this plane. Control P, we want to, nope, do it the other way. Select the plane and then the armature. If I can get that without selecting the character. Fortunately, this is on 2 layers, so I can easily do this. Here we go. We want to select parent to armature deform, and we're going to do empty groups. And then we will go ahead and look at our groups here. And the only thing we want to have affecting this at all is this arm, which is arm left. So let's go to the plane here and delete every group but arm left. Arm left we want to keep. And then we are going to select everything on there and assign it to the vertex group. So now, when the character moves, so does that plane. It's a simple matter now of throwing a texture on this plane, and we are in business. One thing to mention, because of how I did this. If we just do a simple unwrap, it's going to unwrap it, in this case, to that layout, which we admittedly don't really want. I'm going to turn back on layer 1 just by hitting shift and number 1, just so we can see the character again. You would have to use your texture of whatever weapon or object you want them to hold, but it is going to unwrap to the image that's here. So if you had a square image, which I don't think I have anything that's going to be square here, unfortunately. No, everything's... I think this is 2x1, which is actually kind of close to the ratio of this mesh, but just something to keep in mind. It's going to unwrap to whatever size your texture is. You're going to have to, if you don't have a texture yet, kind of get this right aspect ratio and then paint your textures on. So that would be how you would add a weapon or anything else. And then let's take a look here. We're doing this as 2 objects, so you would have to define this as 2 textures. So I seemingly closed Atom. That was silly of me. Let's open it back up. we would now have an image that has two textures. So instead of just having this texture with this overlay, because we're not doing an overlay anymore, we're actually doing two textures, we would have to add in a secondary texture, which we could just have called something like, this is, I don't know why I hit an S, zombie dash weapon. And I forgot the I over here. Zombie weapon .png. Wow, I am doing great today. Alright, so then it would use that second texture for the second item. Now they might be backwards, so you might have to switch the two around and add them. So you'd have the weapon first, but I don't believe so. I think that is right. Now, say we want to do armor on the character, or something like that. What I'm going to do, select face selection. On this character, we're just going to go simple, and we'll do the front and the back of the shirt, and that's all. It's the exact same process for anything beyond that, but that's all we're going to do for now, just for time's sake. So let's go ahead to top view. Make sure I have that front face selected. Go to top view, Shift D to duplicate, and let's just move it forward a little bit. Right there. That looks good. And then let's go ahead and do the same on the back face. Again, Shift D to duplicate, hold down the control key, and move it just a touch. And I accidentally moved it to the side, which I didn't want to do. There we go. Alright, and now let's go to object mode and turn this back to textured. And it's hard to tell, but there is a second face on the front of the shirt and on the back side as well. Now if we go into edit mode here and then go over to UV editing, we have a second face that exists, whoops, in the exact same location. So what we want to do is select these two in edit mode, and now fortunately, because they are the front faces, they're very easy to select. Just click on them and they will highlight right up. You can kind of see here that there's a face behind that, kind of there. And these are the two faces it's using in the UV map. So we have two options. We can either put it into the same UV map, which if you're creating something from scratch is the easiest way to do it, the method I would recommend using. Just because, well, why not? It's easier if you only have one texture rather than multiple textures. And now we have an overlay that is using another portion of the texture. Now, if we did want to do this as a separate image, that is still possible. We would create a new material, and maybe we would call it clothing, armor, whatever you want to use, overlay. You could use whatever, it wouldn't matter. I'm just going to go ahead and assign that. And now these two pieces are using their own material. And we'll go back to UV editing. And then we will unwrap those two by themselves. And we would, of course, use a new image texture for the overlay. So maybe we want to use, this is my overlay. And if we did want to use this, we probably wouldn't have wanted to unmap it. When you duplicate a face, I feel like I should mention this. When you duplicate a face on a mesh, it copies the exact same UV layout. So both of these faces are using the same layout. So if you're doing an overlay and it's going to be the same texture that's underneath it, it's easiest if you just leave everything in the UV layout the exact same and do it as a separate texture. Or you can do like we did and just throw the UV map someplace else. This hair here is like for a helmet or something. So the front of the head, you can have hair that kind of sticks off on the head by doing that. Except I moved the totally wrong layout. It should have been that one. And then I would want to put this back in front of the face. Just like that. And of course we would want the black showing alpha, which I'm not sure why it's not doing here, because it's doing it right here. So I got something goofy going on. Let's just take a quick peeky look-see at this. This has no material at all. Let's create a new one. And it fills that with black. Okay, so all we have to do is check transparency. and check transparency. There we go. So now we have the overlay on the face with this hair, which is touching. So let's pull that out a touch. I think to do that, I want to be in top view here. Whoa, there we have it. The hair sticks off the face. And the same with these two pieces of clothing, which we need to set transparency individually for those because it's a different material. And they stick off and they have their own material. So obviously you would do this for the arms. If there was going to be any kind of dangling fabric or whatever on the legs, we would do it there as well. On the head, if you wanted to put a helmet on, that you would all add. It's really completely up to you how you want to do it. Using texture overlays is the easiest because you're not modifying your model at all. You're just pretty much making a secondary texture with an overlay in it and then overlaying it. And the nice thing about doing that is it's really easy to reuse your overlays. So for example, this overlay I could put behind any of these textures and get that overlay just popped right on top of these textures. Super easy. Doesn't really require any work other than creating a second texture. If you want more elaborate things, you may have to go this route with creating extra mesh on your model and then doing UV maps on those. It's totally up to you. This does give a little bit more of a 3D effect because you can see some stuff underneath from certain angles. For a simplistic voxel game, is it really necessary? I let you be the judge. You're the modder. You can do whatever you want. That's the beauty of this game and the open world that it is. You're free to do whatever you want. So I leave those decisions entirely in your hands. And that is going to wrap this up. I think I covered everything they wanted. Let me just quick double check here. Blah, blah, blah. How to do the textures as overlays. We just did that. I covered the other method as well, which they didn't ask. And then how to put weapons in their hands, which is just like this. Now, one thing to note, because of the method employed to do the texture in their hand, if you're looking at them straight on, or close enough to straight on, the weapon becomes invisible because there's no thickness to it. From the side it'll be visible, but straight on it will pretty much become invisible, which means if they're attacking you, you may not be able to see what they're holding. There are two ways you can try and combat this. One would be to give the mesh a little bit of rotation sideways. So, like that. So they're holding it on an angle. And this way, when they're attacking you, and if you're looking them more or less straight on, well, I think actually that made it worse. But it helps from some angles in front because it's now, you're seeing a side of it instead of the edge. There's really no way to make what they're holding be 3D or have thickness to it without actually modeling the object they're holding. Which if you modeled the object they're holding, then you have the downside of they can only hold that one item. Or you can employ another hacking method and put a handful of different things in their hands. So for example, I'm going to just grab the Suzanne model here, and we're going to throw that in a hand. Alright, so this mob can hold Suzanne, it can hold the sword, and let's just add one more thing, just for kicks and giggles, a cone. So it can be holding a cone, it can be holding Suzanne, or it can hold the sword texture, or bow texture, whatever. What you could do is give each one of these their own materials. So we would just do, I don't know, we'll call this Suzanne. And let's give it a kind of brownish color, because that's what color it is. And this we will call Cone. And let's give that a blue color, just because. Now, with each of these being their own materials, you could have all of this mesh, and as long as you were using a texture that was straight alpha, in other words, a blank image that's just alpha, there's no pixels painted on it, these will show invisible in Minetest, which then would let you be able to use different textures to pretty much turn on different pieces of mesh. So for example, if I only had a texture on the monkey head here, we would not be seeing, what do I want to do? We wouldn't be seeing the cone, and we wouldn't be seeing the sword. The, why is this not working? I want to view layer 4 as well. I put them on 3. That's why it's not working. Okay. The mesh would still exist for these two objects on the model, but because there's no texture on them, they would be invisible. So that's the second option you can use, and have models of different things that your mobs can hold. As you do that, though, you are going to keep increasing the file size. Is that an issue? Probably not, but keep in mind who the users are you're trying to put the mod towards. If you want this to be something that's usable with people with low-end rigs and, you know, not like top-of-the-line quality 64 gig RAM, like this guy, actually I think I have 32 gigs RAM. But either way, if you want this to be able to be used on people with lower-end systems, you want to kind of keep in mind the size of your file and kind of keep things small. It also increase loading times on servers, decrease, I said that backwards, it'll decrease loading times on servers, decrease download times because you're downloading less material. But again, I leave it all up to you. You can do what you want. You are the modder. You are in control of what you create. And that, my friends, will wrap this up. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions further on this topic or on anything else I have covered or something I haven't covered, feel free to let me know in the comments or on the forum topic on the Minetest forums, which will be linked in the description. If you want me to go ahead and make a model for you because you either don't know how or you don't have the time or Blender's just too complicated for you and you need a model, check out the Hire Me page on my website. I do freelance work. Rates are great. Actually, I don't have any set rates, so that's something that you and I would decide on if we came to that. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next installment.